So my youngest son is getting married next week, and thanks to this crazy situation that we're in, we only have 1 week to turn this backyard into a place that we can hold the reception. All right, so this backyard makeover began with one simple problem. There was an old stump here. We took the stump out, had this big hole, and said, that would make a great fire pit. So we start looking at doing a backyard makeover. Next thing you know, somebody's getting married. We're gonna hold a reception here. Now we gotta expand it even further. So fire pit, new retaining wall, new flower beds, new deck. So the first thing we did was move the hot tub to the other side of the backyard. And in order to do that, I had Berkey's Electrical come out, dig a trench, and run the electrical wiring and conduit to the other side of the house. All right, so in order to make the fire pit, you gotta have something to put the fire in. I'm gonna use this corrugated steel in order to be the ring of the fire, but this is much longer than we need, so we're gonna cut it in half and somebody else will get a fire pit out of this one. All right, part of what we're going to be doing is taking this old brick retaining wall out. And this thing is just really dated, really bad shape. So it's going to go away. We're going to get some new blocks that are cut stone type blocks. They really look nice. It's a stackable wall that's easy to install. But the first thing, you got to get this out of here. All right, so this is where we're going to be putting in the new retaining wall. It's only going to be a little 2-foot retaining wall. And on the base of the blocks, you typically either use a crushed limestone, or I like to use just bags of concrete. We can pack them in, gives me a good solid base. Been doing it this way for years. It works great. So all we're doing is going to smooth this out. Then we'll use a vibrating plate to pack it down nice and tight. I don't put water in it. I simply let nature absorb into it and it'll set up like concrete. And we're going to do the same on the post on the deck. We won't mix water in with the concrete. We'll pack it in around the post and it'll set up all by itself. All right, we got our fire pit built out here. The concrete around the perimeter here has a beam that goes down into the ground to make it rigid, and around the pit itself. That way, should somebody ever decide they want to put a top of some kind on this, you can. Obviously, you'd have to have a big opening in the middle to let the smoke out, but I've elected not to put a top on it, but I still want my concrete nice and stiff so it doesn't go up and down. Now, when we poured this, I kept water on it all day after pouring it that morning. That slows the cure time. And by water, I mean, you just come out like every hour, sprinkle the water down on top. That slows the curing time and helps minimize shrinkage cracks. Shrinkage cracks are those hairline cracks that we're gonna get in concrete inevitably. But this helps to control so that you don't get as many of them, because it's been hot, let's face it, and concrete dries fast when it's hot. When concrete's drying, it's nothing more than the moisture evaporating out of it. And by keeping it moist, you make it last longer and makes the concrete harder. Okay, so we've got the old deck out, we've got the concrete out. You can see we've got old posts here. And these old posts are still in good shape from a deck that was put in 15 years ago. So rather than take all these out, we just ran string lines to follow these and add new posts for the bigger deck. So basically, all you got to do is mark it where you want it. The measurements are not going to be all that critical. And rather than trying to do this all by hand using a post hole digger, we're going to actually use a regular powered post hole digger. We're going to take what would take 6 hours to do and probably cut it down to about 20 minutes. The tools make the job. The way this thing fell out on this first one, because of the way the deck boards fell out, my backboard's coming up flush with the deck. Then my deck will go underneath and all my other boards will come up and be covered up then down below. Just makes it a little bit stronger when you're stepping up off on the edges, but didn't have really any choice on the top one here just because of the measurements, and I didn't want to reset and change things. Now, there's a lot of different ways of building steps. You can get pre-cut boards for it and stuff, but because our ground was so unlevel, I just decided to build these in place. After I've got everything built, then I'll run another board across on the bottom that is for ground contact. It'll keep it from deteriorating too fast. Now, is it gonna last forever? Nah, but it'll last long enough for me. You know, a lot of times people ask, why are you using screws instead of a nail gun? Treated lumber actually will eat up nails. Now, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but over a long period of time, it will deteriorate the nails and they'll actually break. Regular deck screws like this are coated so that they can go into the treated lumber and not deteriorate. I'm marking this at 11 inches. That's the width of 2 of the deck boards, which is how wide my steps are going to be, because what we're doing is building steps all the way along the side here to get up onto the deck. Rather than having rails around it, they want to be able to come down, up and down the steps. So when your wife says that's what she wants, that's what you build. You know, when you're doing stuff like the stairs, it's real easy to try to eyeball, but I'm telling you, you're gonna mess it up because optical illusions. I can tell you right now, looking at this board, to me it looks like it's skiing up, but in reality, it's not. You gotta use that level. All right, now that we've got the deck on, you got to preserve this wood. You don't want it looking bad in just a matter of months. So it's time to pull out the Ready Seal. All right, for this project, we're going to use natural cedar Ready Seal. It's a stain and sealer in one. What it's going to do is it's going to bring out that natural wood grain, but it's also going to preserve the wood with that oil that goes deep down into the wood fibers, keeping moisture from soaking into the wood later. That moisture is what destroys the look of your decks, your fences, docks, whatever outdoor wood you have. Ready Seal is the solution. All right, we worked our tails off and got it done, and I gotta admit, it looks great. We almost ran out of time, but I'm glad we were able to get the Ready Seal on because it really added to the back deck. Hey, for more quick tips like these, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can get there by going to thipro.com.